Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well. You're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. This Friday is treating you well. This is video 2, by the way, 2 of 2. I want to say thank you for those who have watched video 1, and if you haven't, I know you're going to do it after this, so I'll thank you anyway. And thank you for those who joined us in the live last night. It was good. It's good. It's a new thing. I'm going to be doing plenty more of them. But I know not everybody has the time or the time at that time, so I will try and fluctuate. But anyway, what are we talking about? We're talking about something that many people have reached out and said, look, you need to talk about this. We need to hear what you think about it. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about Brent Kopacka, this Brent Kopacka situation. And look, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy theory route and try and tie Brent Kopacka in with the Idaho 4 case. Now, what I will say is, I do find it incredibly bizarre. I do find it incredibly bizarre that this situation happened around the time that this Idaho 4 situation was all kicking off. You know, I do find it bizarre. I apologise if it offends anybody when you have to talk about them, or I feel that it has to be spoken about and considered whether there could be some form of link, connection, however small. I just feel that it could not be 100% ruled out. And we're going to talk about why in a second. But again, not to tie them together, but because of problems in that situation. But first of all, I just need to thank where that information came from. That is obviously Truth and Transparency, who would originally bring that footage to her channel via a Freedom of Information Act request. And also Drip Drop, who would then look at it himself. Now, don't get me wrong, I've touched on this before. I've spoken about it. We spoke about it when Truth and Transparency very first brought it out. So we have been through it. This isn't new. But it was just interesting to listen to another creator's take on it, listen to Drip Drop. And I think what's important sometimes is because we know that not everybody is subscribing to everybody. So if we all touch on it, if we all see it, and we all give our opinions on it, you know, everybody will get the information. And they'll also get varying thoughts and opinions on it, which I would imagine that everybody has. And hopefully people will broaden their thoughts. And I have an alarm going off. You know, having thoughts. So look, what Drip Drop is talking about, he's talking about the fact that they, during this recording, they're talking about having a search warrant, not an arrest warrant, but a search warrant. They address Brent by name and tell him that they have a search warrant for his apartment. And Drip Drop raised a valid question, and that was that if you have a search warrant is very different to an arrest warrant. So what would they have been looking to search for? Now, so I know what some people are going to say. Maybe it was easier to get a search. I don't know how this all works. Maybe it was easier to get a search warrant than it was an arrest warrant. Maybe they felt that saying search warrant wasn't as aggressive, perhaps, or triggering as arrest. You know, we want to come and look rather than come and get you, sort of thing. There may be a degree of that. I have to be fair and say both sides. If I was, you know, being approached by law enforcement and they said, we want to come and search, would I take that better than them saying they're coming to arrest me? We do have to consider the overall situation, that it could have been a volatile situation, and, you know. But they did say search warrant, and was there something else involved? Was it indeed something they were going to search for? And it's things like this, things like these little elements that make you think, what were they looking for then? What were they looking to search for? Were they looking for weapons, perhaps? Were they looking for anything else? And again, when you've got this Idaho 4 situation in the background and things that Brent had posted on social media, such as map coordinates and things like that, and we now later learn that he is somebody who would collect bladed weapons, it sets the mind working overtime. Also, there are elements of this, how can we say, this footage that seems to be doctored. And Drip Drop is going to be a professional on this. He's going to be an expert. And why? Because DripDrop has built his entire presence on this platform by doing freedom of information requests, obtaining footage, whether it be, you know, these worn chest cameras and, you know, these interview cameras, and these are all time-stamped. They have exactly, you know, the IDs on them of where they're from, what they're of, you know, any relevant stampings on there. I know that he tweaked some of these himself to make them sort of personalised to his channel, but ultimately you can see that they are genuine. They've got the time frame, the time stamps, the duration stamps. But this footage doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have anything. So it does make you wonder why they didn't give what the legal requirement stipulates. Do you know what I mean? You're entitled to that through the freedom of information. If that's doctored, you're then not getting what the law dictates that you're entitled to. You're actually getting an edited version of that. You know, that kind of negates the entire premise of the point, doesn't it? But they lie in it. They basically lie in it. They are talking about elements of what happens during this situation that don't in fact happen, and make it sound like Brent is acting in a manner with which he isn't. And that's quite concerning. It's quite concerning to hear that they are, in fact, lying, and it makes you wonder why they are lying. Because that's how it looks. It looks like they are actually lying. And there's other elements to this footage as well, such as they claim that they were using tear gas, and DripDrop quite rightly states that it doesn't look like they did. It doesn't look like they did at all. You know, nobody's been able to clarify anything here. Nothing whatsoever. The whole situation doesn't look right. It looks off. He points out that they were due to go on a training, sort of, they had training that morning, and they ended up not going to it. They stating it that they're going to be late for training. And DripDrop points out that maybe they utilised this situation as some form of training. Maybe this Brent Kopacka situation had been ended very, very quickly. Perhaps they turned up trigger happy and the execution was done relatively quick. And what else you see beyond that is basically smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors, they utilise that to train people on how to cover up a situation when it goes tits up. But I don't know. But what I will say is, looking at it, and keep looking at it, go and check Truth and Transparency out. Go and check out DripDrop, and specifically look at this footage yourself. Have a good look and see what you think. And ask yourself why. Why is this situation playing out the way it is? Why isn't this as transparent and truthful as it should be? Why does it appear that they are not being honest? Why are there so many things about this that just don't seem right? And come back to me and tell me honestly, when you learn what you learn through it, and you can see that there is dishonesty, then is it then unfair to perhaps feel that perhaps there could be something else in the background? And could there indeed be a connection to something else? Who knows? But we've spoken about this before. Spoken about the military vibe that we get with the Idaho 4 case. The fact I spoke on this earlier about, were these poor victims asleep when this happened? Who would have had the skill to control this situation the way it was seemingly controlled? If they weren't asleep, to be able to do it in the manner with which it was done? Or is this just a huge, huge, tragic coincidence? Let me know down below. Coincidence? Or sketchy as fuck? Catch you all over the weekend.